All right, welcome back to a Planet Gen X. We're so happy that you guys are with us today, man. We can't ask for anything better than just to have you guys here with us to talk about, well, hell, anything really. the stuff that we grew up liking, right? How you doing today, Brian?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Oh man, you know, I couldn't be any happier. Every day I look forward to this every week. I know I said that last week, but it's the truth. I just love talking on the microphone, man. It's one of my favorite pastimes. Between that and shooting little posts off on Twitter all day long, that's fun too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything been going on special with you lately?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Another week.
Another week for him. All right. Well, right on. Well, hopefully you guys, we're going to change things up a little bit here. We're not going to try and cram everything into one episode. I realize that I'm one of the few people who probably likes to listen to stuff in its entirety that's 2 and 3 hours long. There's many podcasts like that, and they're very successful like that. But they're also, you know, got 3 or 4 million followers too. So people like, you know, I guess it's
tech team.
Yeah.
Full of talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going in that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just feel like, you know, hey, if you want to see, yeah, and I try and put chapter points in the videos, but I haven't actually gone to look and see if it actually works or not, because I haven't seen how to do the chapters in YouTube, specifically how to add them. It doesn't say nothing about it when I'm adding a video. Well,
I haven't checked recently, but I haven't seen them. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, but I've got some chapter points that are embedded in the videos. I figured it would pick up on them, but anyway.
It's not going to.
Oh, really? Not that smart.
You got to go in and manually do it. Yeah.
Wow, what a drag. Okay, yeah, so I'm sorry that hasn't been working for y'all. It is hidden in there, buried in there. It would just be a little smart. Especially considering everybody uses DaVinci pretty much. You know, it's either everybody's using Premiere or they're using DaVinci, one or the other. And most people are using DaVinci, it's like nowadays. And DaVinci, it'll go, you just put little marks in, and it'll make chapters just on the marks you put in. And if YouTube would just figure that out and go, oh, look at these little markers here, I'll make chapter points out of them. Or do you want me to?
Like I said, points? I haven't looked in a while, so I may be wrong. They may have updated that, but you know, for the longest time, it's been manual.
Yeah, well. I suspect it's still. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I would go in and put at least, you know, one at the beginning of the Picard reviews, and one at the beginning of the Mando reviews, one at the beginning of the news, and maybe one somewhere else. I don't know, but you know, just try and give people a place to jump to if they wanted to, because I realize that sometimes I get long-winded and people don't want to listen to everything, so they move on.
Well, that was the other thing. I was thinking about that, like, couple of weeks ago, something like that, and I was like, you know, we hop around so damn much.
Oh God, yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to hit that label.
Yep.
In all of our discussion,
no doubt.
So hopefully our new format will help with that as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too, because you know, then you'll have this show, which I guess is called the main show, not the review part of it, that you can just listen to, and hopefully it won't be too bloody long, and then you'll have the other two.
It'll be Planet Gen X, and then all the satellites, right?
Yeah, the little satellites, satellite planets, moons.
Yeah.
They could be moons or just satellites. They could be artificial.
That's no moon.
So I think I had a point to what I was saying, but I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
Apologies if I distracted you.
No, I don't even know. I probably distracted myself. And I may have actually made the point and just forgotten. There's always that too. You never know.
Long story short, slightly different format.
Yes, right? It's going to be slightly different, which means there'll be more videos just all of a sudden too. So look out for that. Yeah. Thanks. All right, so let's just slide right on into the news, which we have not very much of.
Pretty slim.
You know, it occurred to me I have not messed with my camera settings at all. What a goober. Yeah. Well, hold that thought just 1 second, okay?
Yeah, do it on the fly real quick.
All right, so yeah, we'll just 1 second there. All right. So yeah, it's about time to check out the news, which we don't have a lot of. and that's probably a good thing because we got other shit we want to talk about. Yeah. So first,
could have had more, but
oh yeah,
more important stuff. Right?
It was and it wasn't exactly a huge news week, but yeah, we could have added a little filler things in there, but just a couple things. I'll let you carry on with this one. We'll just start at the top with the BBC workers go on strike.
Yeah, apparently there's. I don't think it was a bill or anything. It's just like BBC has this policy that they want to instate of making some roles redundant and streamlining processes. And there are a whole lot of people at the BBC that are really worried about like local news and facilities and the redundancies of positions. Afraid that, you know, probably what will happen is if it hits a downturn at some point, some of those positions will be gotten rid of.
Yeah, well, yeah, it wouldn't be the first time they've gone through that, man. The BBC used to be like its own, just they used to do everything in house.
Yeah,
lack of a better term. They had their radiophonic workshop and all that stuff, and basically everything's now outsourced to other places. So all they're doing is slapping their name on it and providing a studio. They do their own productions. And yeah, everything's outsourced now. It's sad. They used to be kind of like pioneers in a lot of things.
I mean, it's kind of universal. I mean, Disney's doing the same stuff. Like a lot of big companies like that are outsourcing everything they can.
Yeah. Lobbing off heads too. Hell, Facebook Meta killed another 10,000 this week. Not even in news. Yeah. That's just a bonus for guys. That's how we do it. Giving you that little extra, that
little +1 to the news.
Yeah.
There.
Well, good for you, BBC workers. I still like countries that can strike.
Stay strong.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that sometimes I wish we had more power like that. Go out in the streets and shut shit down. And they do up north where we live. They don't. It's not really a thing. it happens once in a blue moon, but yeah. So
you got to get 1 million people to march on something, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think the last time it happened was what, Selma.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So moving on, then. Well, I'm gonna jump over the Diablo 4 thing to an obituary. Lance, I think everybody's probably seen this by now. Lance Reddick passed.
Yep.
And if you don't know his name, you do know his face because he's been in just about every good movie there ever was.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to know his face; it's his voice, right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
one of the most iconic voices I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I was just going to throw out a movie. I mean, hell, you could say John Wick. That's one great. Because he seems just as badass as John Wick, almost. You know, almost, but not quite.
Maybe a little high class,
just a little bit. That's going to be our next. I'm grabbing that for a thumbnail for sure. We both threw up the little bits at the same time.
Yeah, perfect
thumbnail.
Could be squishing heads.
Yeah, I squish your head. What? I'm trying to think of other great movies because I just saw a bunch of them, and now I'm just drawing a blank.
Well, I mean, for me, it was mostly TV shows, right? Like he's well known for The Wire. That was probably one of the bigger ones.
Was he in Lost?
Also Oz.
Oz.
He was.
Yes. That was the one that stuck out for me because he played. He came into Oz as like he had an accent in that, like a Caribbean accent, but he was an undercover cop.
Right.
It was a great show. I've actually watched. There's an Oz connection to one of the reviews we'll be doing later with Picard as well. So
there's a Fringe connection to Picard as well. Probably the same guy.
And it's still, of course, still the 12 Monkeys deal or whatever.
Yeah,
keeps popping up, but that's because shit, Metalis. What's this?
Oh,
Harry Metalis.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his name. Showrunner for Picard. Anyway, I'm digressing again. We were talking about Lance Reddick, but yeah, great actor, gone before his time. I guess that John Wick 4, was he killed in 3? I don't remember. I don't think so.
I don't either, but I really haven't remembered seeing anything about him being in 4
I
necessarily.
know, right?
So.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's in it or not. I would think everything would be in the can by now.
Right.
So if he is,
I will say, what I knew him first from was probably Lost, but what I knew him best from was Fringe. And he was great in that. He did Horizon. He was a character in Zero Dawn Horizon. And of course, Destiny. Where there are a number of Guardians that gathered today to salute their fallen commander at ease.
Man, my damn camera, I don't know why it keeps... did I not turn the white balance off? Okay, here we go again. Here we go again. I'm pausing. All right, so we're going to say, we'll miss you, Lance Reddick. Sorry that you didn't make it longer. With these days when people are living to 100, yeah, guys. I didn't hear. Did they say what he passed of? I didn't even say.
It just said natural causes. I want to say there was a history of like liver, kidney, something. I don't know specifically what, but he had some type of a problem.
Yeah,
but I just can't remember what it was.
Well, all right. Well, you'll be missed
sorely.
With that said, we're going to jump over into the world of gaming and our final news product and talk about this weekend on yesterday, the 17th, started the Diablo 4 closed beta, or some say open beta. I don't know. I guess it's open if you got money. It's closed if you don't. So let's put it that
right.
way, because if you prepay, you can get in the beta anytime, and it's on Xbox too. I noticed that last night when I went in to play Hogwarts. I didn't even know if it would, and I don't know how well that translates. Like, I don't think certain games play well. My wife tried to play The Sims the other day on the PS4, and it's similar to the experiences I've had. It's a real drag. I think some games were just meant to be played with a keyboard and mouse. Yeah. Some translate very well going into a console, but others just don't, especially like Flight Simulator. I'm quite surprised that they brought it to the console. That's one I think wholeheartedly you really need a keyboard. Well, you really need a whole cockpit.
A mouse, a keyboard, and a joystick.
Yeah, I mean, you need the whole shebang, but
right.
It is what it is. But yeah, they started their beta this weekend, and so I watched a few reviews of it because obviously I'm not going to take part in it. I'm not interested at all. You are not interested at all, from what I understand.
Nope, I haven't really been interested in Diablo for a long time, and I only played Immortal because friends were playing.
Right, and I think I'm in that same boat with you because I loved Diablo back in the day, and I loved 1 and 2. I have still yet to play 3. I've never even been in 3 for 2 seconds. Of course, I did play Diablo Immortal, which now that I've seen 4, I realize that and because of our friend who's played 3 a lot and what he was saying about it when we were all playing Immortal together, I realized that it's just Diablo 3 with kind of a different packaging. Pretty much the same as Diablo 3 as far as the way mechanics of it are.
Yeah, probably a little bit more lightweight.
Yeah,
if I had to guess.
Yeah, like a mobile version of 4. I mean 3, which essentially is what it is. Even though you can play it on all kinds of shit. But Diablo 4 looks very different, definitely from 3. What I've seen pictures of him from Diablo Immortal, what I've played there, and we'll just talk about the good things. A lot of people, I watched 2 or 3 different reactions about it, and they're pretty much saying the same stuff. And the good things are, it looks great. It has fantastic voiceover work, which you come to expect from Blizzard. I really don't understand. They can pretty much trip over their own dicks and come up with that. I mean, that's just what it's known for. There was a lot of negatives. I was trying to think there. I thought I had some more positives than that.
I didn't see a lot of positives.
Yeah, overall look. Oh, the story. They said the story was very good. So that's a plus. Character customization is good.
Right.
So getting, if you're trying to model yourself in the game, then you got a pretty good chance of getting there with it. Those are pretty decent pluses. So, coming right out with the negatives. So skill tree, they don't really care for the skill tree. It seems most of them. They say it's very basic, very shallow.
Right.
Do you have anything on that?
I've got no additional notes or news on this stuff. Like we said, it's not really something either of us are really interested in.
That's right. Yeah, I
will add that generally skill trees are oftentimes during beta. A lot of the information's held back. There's like groundwork in play, but not uploaded. So
yeah, that's important to note. Yeah, it is.
If it's actually planned.
Yeah, we gotta be fair, and that's always important. Beta. I tell you what, though, and I'm gonna add this caveat to that caveat.
All right.
I've seen many betas in recent times that just come out looking exactly the same way. They did, that there is little to no change. That seems to be more often than not now. It used to be a beta with a big difference from what you got in the final.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's not. Sure, there's reasons for that, but that goes back to that whole thing about, paying up front, like for Baldur's Gate 3 to fund its whole alpha program.
Well, I mean, that's what I was going to say is behind that is it's all about the price point, how much time and effort and energy, primarily finance you're putting into it and what you're expecting to get out of it.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing wrong now. I don't have the light on in my camera. Bear with me just a second. I'm not even going to pause this time.
Just give us a moment, everybody.
That's right.
Cue the Jeopardy music.
Just being a damn dumbass today. All right, there we are. I've already paused twice.
Much better.
Whether I edit it right or not, and y'all even noticed the first 2 times. I knew something was wrong, man. I'm like, it keeps getting darker. Well, it is getting darker outside, and with the time change, and when we record, it was usually dark. Now it's been somewhat daylight, and then it starts getting dark when we're about halfway through it. So, anyway, with that explanation done, so they don't like the skill tree. The emote quest, I'm like, when I first saw this and they were explaining, you got to go up to some guards and like hug them and or flip them off or do this, that, and the other thing. No, I don't need all that bullshit.
So is this like a quest based around emotes or a quest that gives you a reward of an emote?
No. Well, no, you use emotes in the quest. I don't think it's necessarily that it's all the quest. You just have to, it's just part of it that you're going to have to give, guard A the bird and tickle the other guard's ass with a feather or something.
Yeah.
So nobody really cares for that. They mentioned another game that had the emotes that they didn't like, but I know Ark, something or other, maybe the newer Ark is got an epoch. Is that right? One called Epoch in the RPG. Something like that. I'm probably say or POG. I don't know. Really don't know.
It's been a while since I looked at Ark.
Something, yeah. I know it's a game, but it's getting compared a lot to that. Anyways, the barbarian apparently ain't worth shit right now. The melee combat is terrible.
Right.
And then bosses just teleporting out on them when they're up there just hacking away at them. They just whoop gone. So I don't know what's going on there. Again, beta.
I guarantee you it's just a balancing issue. People have always been like, barbarian's so overpowered.
And you make a great segue to balance. Yeah, enemies that scale to your level. Nobody's caring for that shit, man. Did it in World of Warcraft. It's like this guy says. He says, usually when I'm in an RPG, I get to an area and it's way above my level. And then I go away, I fucking farm, I do whatever I need to do, and then I can come back and say, "Ha-ha, motherfucker! Now you are mine!" And hack and slash this, and fucking go off and you feel great about yourself because you accomplished something. Well, that ain't there with the whole fucking enemies that scale to your level shit.
Well, I always go back to Oblivion with that. It was a big issue in Oblivion, to where if you weren't careful about your leveling, you get up to a certain level and, yep, enemies were scaling with you. And if you weren't built right, they just face roll you.
Yeah. Yeah. Bullshit, Blizzard. Get rid of it. And since we're on the subject of bullshit and Blizzard, people are not happy that y'all won't let them fix the fucking mouse button. Let them fix the mouse button. Why are y'all dying on this hill? There's no sense in it.
Yeah.
These guys just want to be able to move, force move, and commit an action.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You can do all kinds of customizations, but for some reason they are just totally blocking that one out. And it's been that way. You know, 3 was the same way. I would have thought that there was a lot of bitching in 3 about it, so I don't know why they're dying on this hill. I really don't. Blizzard just insists, and you know the devs have got to want it. There's got to be a dev playing that wants to do that.
I'm sure none of the devs want to implement it though.
Maybe not. I don't know. What's the is it a mandate from the Lord High Chancellor that do not let them do this no matter what? Yeah. It's like when in what was it, South Park, when they had to get the key or whatever. What was it, the sword or whatever from Blizzard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a sword.
Yeah, it's the same fucking thing. Yeah. Anyway, so that's our news for today, kids. What do you think about that? Yeah.
It's probably a record for us.
It is. It is. So, what can I tell you? In summary, I don't know, Diablo. Or check it out if you want to. Comes out. I don't know when it comes out.
Me neither, but I am pretty sure that the beta closes, right?
Yeah, it does close tomorrow. The week. Yeah.
Or tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. I think it's just the weekend. I could be wrong. It might be the whole week.
Right.
I don't know how they generally. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a little saying we have. In your circles, y'all call it the DeSoto moment. I found out about this a year ago. Now I have the same thing, but I call it the Disney moment.
It's just one circle.
Yeah, well, yeah, one circle of people. But I guess what we're getting at though is that you call it whatever moment you want. You've probably had it. You, like me, you've probably had the Disney moment. Might just be the Epcot moment for you. I don't know if you. Why don't you explain the DeSoto moment and what, first of all, people that don't live in this area won't even know, so you'll have to explain what DeSoto is a little bit.
All I really know of DeSoto is there's a place called DeSoto Caverns. It's a sightseeing amusement,
like a tourist trap.
Yeah. And it's just basically caverns with some formations with tours. But they have in
the middle of nowhere. It's not like it's a big city or nothing like that. It's just in the middle of nowhere. Just DeSoto Caverns.
Yeah. But they do kind of have like a lobby type area where you can buy these bags of sand or dirt.
Yeah.
And what you would do, they'd have this little thing set up where they had water running down a ramp, and these little plastic pans, and you would pan for gold in these bags of dirt that you purchased. So one of our friends has a wife who just always remembered having so much fun doing that, and it was so great. She begged him for years to take her back to go do that, and he was like, I will, but it won't be the same. And finally they went back and she found out it wasn't the same. So it's just basically this idea of how you perceive things from your history as being great.
Yep. And
maybe they weren't so great.
Yeah. And they could not just be a place. It could also be, for me, I've seen old TV shows that in my mind, I was like, as a kid, I was like, wow, man, BJ and the Bear. That was so awesome, man. But I don't know if I watched BJ and the Bear today, if I would care for it as much. Now, I have been trying to find it. It's not, you can't find BJ. Very elusive. I don't know why. But, yeah, so, yeah, it sucked
the time period.
Yeah. She came back. to, I think a lot of it is because I said I had the Disney moment. So for me, I went to Disney World in Florida in 85, I think it may have been 86, but I think it was 85 and 84.
Had a blast, right?
Had a great time. I mean, like, you know, and you're little, I mean, I was 7 years old, maybe.
That was post Epcot, right?
No, yeah, Epcot was there. We went to Epcot, and so I mean, and you know, you're a certain size and everything, so everything's just scaled differently too as when you're a child, because everything looks bigger to you. You're looking up at most everything. So yeah, I mean, I just remember a really great time, but I did always remember that I liked Epcot more, just because even as a little kid, I watched Star Trek every afternoon with my father. I was destined to be a nerd. There was no doubt it was going to happen.
It's in the blood.
Yes, it is in the blood. My father was an engineer. First nerds to ever breathe nerd air.
Yeah.
So I had I had a really good time with that, and I liked Epcot a lot. They had really cutting edge stuff. This is what the future is going to look like type stuff. So I really dug that, because I was all about the future. So then we end up, like, I'm 16 years old. I'm in high school band. We have a band trip where we're going to go down and do a marching competition in Orlando. And my father lives in Orlando. I don't even know what that has to do with the story. We end up in Orlando. We're going to Disney World as part of the trip. But anyway, that's how I was in Disney World before, because I guess my father lived Orlando after he. Right. I guess that's why I threw that in there, just out of the blue like that. Sorry, that's how random ADHD head works. So yeah, we have a band trip. We go down there and do our competition. We go to Disney World. Fun time. Now that we've done the work, it's time to have fun. And then we get there, and first thing I noticed right off the bat is how fucking broke down everything looks, and how small everything is. Right. And I probably went at a time when they were in that period of transition. There's Disney World and Disneyland have had many times when they were in those badly need of refurbishment days. And of course, it's better nowadays too, because there are so many YouTube news people just handling Disney parks alone. Yeah. Like Provost Park Pass and some of those other great guys out there doing that shit. They keep them on point, because they'll go real quick and go, look how shitty Pirates of the Caribbean looks. It has a fucking cess line along the bottom of the boat. You know, and that's literally, I just saw that the other day. So they stay on them pretty good now. But back then, you know, it was like the Nemo submarines were broke down and looked like trash.
By the way, for those of you that are younger and don't know, he's not talking about Finding Nemo.
Oh, yeah. This is, yeah, that's a thing in Disney too. Yeah, it's Captain Nemo.
Yes.
Yeah, they had these wild looking submarines that you could go into. And what's funny about that is that the submarines you go into now is a Finding Nemo thing.
Right, yeah.
It's Finding Dory or whatever, I think. Well, no, it might be Nemo.
Yeah, well, Dory was the most recent one, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's about Finding Nemo. I guess that's why they thought it was clever that they did that, because they went from Captain Nemo to Finding Nemo. Haha, you're so
clever.
Sometimes I like their little homages like that. But sometimes they're too on the nose. Like that one. Yeah. So that's the Disney DeSoto moment. That's a very Gen X experience right there. I mean, everybody can have those experiences, but
well, I can tell you where you screwed up.
How's that?
That was on you, man. Like, it's probably different now, but I remember, like, secretly, everybody in band and theater, they were all about the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, unbeknownst to everyone else, they were getting busy in the school bus on every band trip, and, you know.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, my girlfriend was with me on that trip.
There you go.
Story for never.
You needed better drugs.
That's a story for never. I've been not telling that story on these airwaves. It was a fun trip, though. That was the part of Disney I liked.
For me, I don't know that I necessarily have like a DeSoto Disney moment myself. It's mainly TV and movies.
Yeah.
You know, going back and watching stuff like
Read you, brother. Free yourself, brother.
Something I've
Free yourself
watched.
of the demons. You know what TV show is giving you the shits?
I mean, I think American Gothic did it. That was a show that didn't have a lot of legs, but it was, I remember being really interested in it when I was younger and tried to go back and watch it. It was like, what is this crap?
Yeah. Well, while I'll still go back and watch it now, for me, it was the first time I went back and watched Buck Rogers. I mean, I'm sorry, not Buck Rogers. I still love Buck Rogers, even though it falls into the same thing. But Battlestar Galactica, the original, when I first went back and watched it, I was like,
right.
Oh, really? This writing sucks. Horrible. Yep. But I love to watch it. Like probably at least once every couple of years, I'll break them out.
Well, I mean, it's Battlestar. It's, you know, I think if you're a big space nerd, then, you know, it holds a special place in your heart because they're so limited from back then.
Yeah, we won't even talk about Galactica 1980.
Yeah.
Jesus. Doesn't even deserve to have the show's name.
Yep, we could just skip over to the next subject.
Moving right along. Oh, yeah, you know what? I have a little quiz for you. Speaking of being back in the 80s,
oof.
The year is 1983. What are your favorite TV shows of that year?
Okay. I'm going to scroll up to my TV shows because I noted this. The TV shows I remember watching are A-Team.
Yes.
Magnum PI.
Uh-huh.
Simon and Simon.
Simon and Simon.
Fall Guy.
Yep.
Wasn't as popular. Knight Rider.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a theme throughout a lot of this. A lot of, you know, private investigators, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, as little guys in the 80s like we were, any dude running around in a pretty souped up car, solving crime, kicking ass, doing something like that, you know, taking down some bad guys some way, we were all about it. Yep. We were their demographic, no doubt about it.
I always wanted a Hoff jacket. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There were things that I didn't watch. Well, MASH. Occasionally I would be allowed to stay up late enough to watch MASH. Final episode of that was in 83.
Yes, it was.
Something I didn't discover until later on, Fraggle Rock debuted that year.
Yes, it did. Sure did. I remember it.
And
well. It was one of my favorites.
The big one for you, Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
Black Adder on the BBC.
Yeah, it was his first. So different than the other 3 seasons, too. That first season's so weird.
Yeah.
Has the great Brian Blessed in it as well. Well, you mentioned many shows that came out before 83. They just happened to be around in 83.
Right.
Some you did mention.
Those were just the ones I remember watching.
That's what you remember. A-Team, you mentioned that they came out that year. Yeah, Mama's Family, Webster, Tales from the Dark Side, Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon. You remember that?
I watched the shit out of that, man.
Me too. Yeah. He-Man.
I was like every Saturday morning I was chomping at the bit for that.
Yeah. That was a great show. He-Man.
I did watch He-Man.
Yeah. Every kid loved that He-Man. Inspector Gadget came out that year.
Never watched it until
you couldn't get it in Alabama. So you weren't aware of it. The only reason
I wasn't in Alabama at that time.
Oh yeah. Where were you?
I was in Louisiana.
Okay. Well, see, I don't know from Louisiana. I was in the summer in Florida. I could get Inspector Gadget. So I was aware of him then. Wheel of Fortune came out that year. You mentioned Fraggle Rock. Manimal, one of my favorite shows, but it only lasted a season. Manimal, man. I love that fucking show as a kid.
That was pretty cool back in the day.
Talk about a Disney moment. I bet if I went back and watched that motherfucker now, I'd be sorely disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to see that one again.
Wasn't that the guy that played Face on A-Team?
No. In fact, I don't even know who the actor is. I'd have to go look it up.
I'm trying to remember, but I'm drawing a blank.
But yeah, that guy, he could turn into like 3 animals or something like that. Like a falcon or an eagle or something, a cat, and I forget what the other. Oh, a snake. He could do a snake too. I remember him doing that one time. Yeah, it was pretty wild shit, man. But I dug it as a kid, man. I was all about the Manimal. Hardcastle McCormick came out that year. The new Leave It to Beaver. I love Leave It to Beaver, the old Leave It to Beaver. I am watching it, every night when I go to bed right now, watching it. I might do an episode on Leave It to Beaver because I love that show. There's a lot to be said about that show that I think kids today could do a lot by watching it, which is the same thing we would have done. Because it didn't come on when we were kids, as far as like, it wasn't new when we were kids. When we saw Leave It to Beaver, we saw it in reruns, like the kids of today should, but there's just so much shit out there that they can't even fucking, I mean, they would have to discover it on their own, or maybe their parents turn them on to it. And it kind of, I feel like it's a shame, really, because, man, if you grew up on Leave It to Beaver, like I did, and our friends did, we clowned it from being too straight-laced. Too square. Yeah. But I watch it now and think, man, they were edgy. They were for their time. They were, and you don't even realize it, man. But now being able to look on it through different eyes, that June Cleaver, man, man, she's looking tight.
Hot mama, yeah,
man. I never thought I'd say that about her, but she is looking good, especially this early season. Something else.
I'm trying to remember. I think Punky Brewster was after 83, right?
She wasn't on the list, so she was either 82 or after 83. Yeah,
I think it was after.
Yeah, it might have been 84, 85. That's
84.
Another girl that turned out to be very good looking there. While she was still like Punky Brewster went on for a hot minute.
Oh yeah, she still looks fine to this day.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Did she pass? Somebody passed.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
I remember her having a breast reduction. I remember that being a big thing in the news back in the day. Punky Brewster has a breast, and they're still huge. I've seen them. Yeah. I mean, not really. I've seen them.
Save your back.
Yeah. She's a good looking broad. Well, they brought back the show, didn't they? And I saw a couple episodes of it. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But she was like our exact age, so we grew up with her, and so it's not perverted to say that, man, it was like, man, Punky was getting cute.
Well, yeah, we were kids, so yeah, it was cute. There was no hot, right?
She was getting cute, yeah. And then, well, I mean, like for me, I started a little early, but she was getting hot for me for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what year. We'll have to look into that. So, Reading Rainbow came out that. Oh, it is 84. Good.
Yeah.
Reading Rainbow.
Did watch a ton of Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, LeVar Burton before anybody knew who he was, really.
Everybody's favorite stand-in father.
Right. Otto Man came out that year. And here's a great one. The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross came out that year.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that was 83.
Fabulous figure. Now, there's a movie coming out about him, or already out. I don't know if it came out yet. I don't know if it's a streaming service movie or a theater movie. Do you remember? I think it's a theater movie.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
I can't even remember who was playing him. It's an iconic person. Oh,
shit, it is, and he's really good. I forget who it is, too. Alvin and the Chipmunks. That was a cartoon that I loved the shit out of. It was very, very popular for us kids.
Yeah.
Whiz Kids, and one of my favorites, Mr. Wizard's World.
Ooh,
Mr.
Watch
Wizard
that too.
Is Don Herbert. Everybody loves Mr. Wizard's World, man. That was one of Nickelodeon's early shows.
Do you remember that Mandela effect involving him?
No.
There was a point in time, I think it's probably in the 90s, maybe aughts. People were thinking it was Patrick Stewart.
Oh, really? Oh
Yeah.
wow. No, he's a lot not thick, but I mean
bald
he's
white
bigger.
guy,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I guess they all look alike, right?
Right.
The Littles came out that year. Welcome to Pooh Corner. That was one of the early Disney Channel shows. Little anecdote there. That's what I call my cat litter's corner. My kitty's corner. Welcome to Pooh Corner. She keeps her little litter box there and Pooh's in the corner. Yeah, I think you. Anyway, Natural World with David Attenborough started that year. Old David Attenborough, man, look at where he is now. And
Please don't die.
Yes, everybody loves his voice.
Yeah.
And then the great BBC stuff he's doing with, was it the Blue Planet or whatever it is, and there's all kinds of stuff. That started back in '83, and he was probably doing other stuff before then. That's just when Natural World. Still going to this day.
Right.
Yep. Star Search, the '80s answer to American Idol. Yeah, we had American Idol long before y'all did. Actually, it was more like America's Got Talent, really, because they did jokes and all kinds of stuff.
Help me out with a timeline here.
Okay.
Which came first
The chicken
to
or the
air?
egg?
First ate the chicken.
Then I ate his leg.
Was it Star Search or Showtime at the Apollo that got syndication first?
Probably. Maybe. I don't know. A good question.
Yeah, I can't remember, but same idea, except it was a little more American Idol on Star Search, right?
Yeah, it was Ed McMahon getting up there and pitting people, like, what is it, 3 people against each other in this kind of the same category. Sometimes they had a little category, like the categories were a little, like you could tell they just didn't have nobody they could put with other people, so they just kind of rammed them all together. That wasn't even fair. But that's like, it's like talent show shit, I've been the victim of that stuff where you lose to a majorette.
Right.
It's fucking horrible. Where was I? Star Search. Love Connection. That was a great one. Sally Jesse.
Wow.
The Mr. T cartoon.
Okay.
I loved the Mr. T cartoon. Press Your Luck, the game show. Loved that game show when I was a kid. No whammies, no whammies. Stop!
Big money.
Yeah, I loved it. The Empire Strikes Back radio drama came out that year. And a lot of people are like, what the fuck ever? No, those were huge. Everybody was like totally into those radio dramas for Star Wars. NBC's Friday Night Videos. It was NBC's answer to MTV. Videos were getting popular, man. The MTV generation was really starting to get big.
I was watching a lot of it, even though I wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah. I liked Friday Night Videos. Great show. Monchi Cheese.
I had one. I was thinking that was one of the few things I remember from that year was I had a freaking Monchi cheese. Yep. Yeah,
they had to fucking stick their finger in their mouth. Yeah, those were goofy little things. But everybody, they were huge. Everybody had a Monchi cheese except me.
That was pre-Bean Babies, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It was the little toy that could.
Yeah.
Let's see. SCTV came out that year. Great precursor to, well, not precursor, a great Canadian version of Saturday Night Live, but not quite Saturday Night Live.
Obviously, I wasn't watching it then, but man, I watched so much of that show.
Yeah. If you get a chance to see it on DVD or something, or if it's streaming somewhere, definitely check it out. Some of your favorite actors and actresses came out of Canada, America's hat, to make us laugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, also, it's probably the best work Eugene Levy ever did, right?
Oh, yeah. Love Eugene. First saw him in Splash, because obviously I didn't see SCTV when I was a kid. Not in '83. I did see it a few years, I think through cable somehow. Saturday's Supercade cartoons with popular video game characters. Like I remember Pac-Man cartoon and oh god, they had 2 or 3. Yeah, it was popular video game characters. It was pretty cool. That was the year the Computer Chronicles came out on public television. Which was actually a good year for public television. The Frugal Gourmet came out that year. These are things I actually watched, kids. We didn't have a lot of TV back then. On a Saturday,
was pre-Babish.
Yeah. We're talking
Babish.
you didn't have any choice. It was pretty dry stuff too. like I would sit home on a Saturday, and that in our local public television station, you know, you'd watch. They would have all this stuff that would teach you shit. What else you gonna do as a kid? You're either playing outside, or if all your friends are off doing something, then you go inside and watch TV, and there ain't shit else on. You're gonna learn to do shit.
Yep, and Frugal Gourmet. You've already mentioned this more than once.
Yeah,
did a lot of cooking for yourself.
Oh man, yeah, that Frugal Gourmet had me cooking all kinds of shit. He had me doing Chinese before I even ever had Chinese food. For real though. WCW Wrestling.
Oof.
Used to be NWA. They rebranded, sold off. They, long story short, yeah, that was the year that WCW brand started. WWF also had All American Wrestling till '94. It started that year.
Mm-hmm.
Rubik the Amazing Cube. Newton's Apple. Name that tune.
I never really watched Rubik, but I do remember.
I remember it very
the
well.
Cartoon. Yeah,
I remember it very well. I said Newton's Apple. Name that tune. TBS Night Tracks was also another MTV-like thing. Again, everybody was trying to get in on it. World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. That was big. I had to throw that in there because that's one of the last, you know, Peter Jennings was one of those last great newscasters, in my opinion. With Dan Rather and
that year also Tom Brokaw took the lead of the NBC Nightly News.
That's right. So I mean, all these names and faces that we grew up with, they were the last ones with integrity. The ones that you have there now are just puppets repeating whatever they're told to. V came out that year. This one was not so much a Disney moment for me. I love it. I still watch it every now and then.
It was pretty amazing.
I was all over it when I was a kid. It was one of the most expensive shows at the time. That's why it ended up getting canceled. It was $1 million an episode, and it was unheard of back then to pay that. And they were canceled in '86, late '86, and the following year, a little show called Star Trek: The Next Generation came out, and it was $1 million an episode. But they tried something different than nobody else had. They went into immediate syndication. They sold their show to people. So if you were seeing it, then those people were buying it,
and they stayed on air.
They stayed on air, and it worked, and everybody made money, and everybody was happy. Yeah, it was awesome. So I'm glad that survived, and we see what that led to. Great many more Star Trek stuff. Yeah, love V. I actually have one of the little prop guns. I love that show so much. Dragon's Lair cartoon, which also means they also had a Space Ace cartoon. And
they also had an arcade game.
Yes, well, yeah, of course, the arcade game.
That was '83 when it came out.
Yeah. They had all that was all tied in. Don Bluth Studios doing those. Beautiful. He was an ex-Disney animator. That did beautiful.
I pumped so many quarters into Dragon's Lair.
I'm telling you.
For those of you who don't know,
it was $1 a play too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it was, all it was a series of videos attached to QuickTime events.
Yep. Yeah, it was just Laserdisc.
Yeah.
So it was just chapter points, basically.
You just drop into whatever you were doing, and something would light up, and you'd either have to jump or press in that direction. And
yeah, I was terrible at it, and it was too expensive.
Everybody was, because the joysticks were shit.
They were. They didn't worth a shit. But these games were so popular, man. Like, they would stick an extra monitor on top of it, so everybody standing around the game could see what was going on, because you heard this motherfucker. Yeah. They turned it up loud. Excuse me. This was the first time you ever heard CD quality audio in an upright arcade game. And they turned that bugger up loud, and you heard it through the entire arcade. So everybody gathered around. They put the monitors on top of them, so everybody could see what was going on. And yeah, it was an event. It was crazy seeing that happen.
I'll never forget. Princess Daphne sounded like no other princess.
That's ever. Right. Yeah. No doubt about that. She looked like no other princess ever, too.
Right.
We'll round it out with the Dukes of Hazzard cartoon, just called The Dukes. I remember that. I was more a fan of just the real show.
That's what I watched.
And one of the greatest cartoons ever made, G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe!
Watch a lot of that,
American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
Cobra.
They'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe! That goes out to my buddy John.
At the end of every episode.
That's for John right there, man. If he ever catches this episode, he probably never will, but he loves G.I. Joe. I do too. I loved playing with that shit when I was a kid. I had G.I. Joe and Transformers. Unfortunately, kids, Transformers didn't come out this year.
Yeah.
They'll come out next year. So they didn't get yes.
Well, I was just going to say, if you were done with that segment, I do have a list of events from 83.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
With that.
I think we'll wrap it up with that, so you go for it.
Really? Because
well,
I
know I've got a bunch of movies I could mention, but I just wonder if
movies, comics.
All right, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Hold on. Yeah, we'll keep going. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of music, CDs. That was when CDs started being released.
Yep, they were more common. They came out in '79 officially.
Right. But they were made affordable. Actually, the players were affordable.
Exactly.
I think was the thing.
Yeah, the disc just became available, but hell, nobody had players.
Right. Reagan Star Wars was initiated that year.
Yep.
The Pioneer 10 made it out of the solar system. That was one of our man-made satellites sent to Jupiter. Do you remember Samantha Smith?
Was she the baby in the well?
No, she was a little girl who wrote a letter to Yuri Andropov.
Well, no, I don't really remember her.
It was during our whole thing that we talk about with the Cold War, where everybody was freaking out about nukes, right? Yeah. Any day, a nuke could be launched at us. So she wrote a letter to Yuri saying, like, I love my family, and why can't we live in harmony? I can't even remember the exact details of it, but basically he made a big press deal out of it, invited her and her family over, and they did the North Korea tour, right? Yeah. Where people go to North Korea and they pass all the facades.
Yeah. Make it look
and
like
that was it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Come over. Everything good. We make you very happy here. It's all good. No problem. You're happy. We live in harmony. It's okay.
There was a Russian that saved the world that year. His name was Stanislav Petrov. And he worked at I guess a missile silo, a depot, something like that. In the
oh yes, I know this story.
Yeah. Apparently, and I don't know. This feels like it was made a bigger deal than it probably was, because apparently not just there but all over USSR had a lot of issues with false positives on launches.
Yes.
But this one got all the pomp and circumstance about it. Apparently Stanislav recognized it, or was like, it goes two ways. Either he was able to recognize it as a false positive, or he was willing to not kill the world and let the nuke hit him.
I think ultimately he said, no, I'm not going to do it. It turned out it was a false positive. Thankfully for him. Somebody probably would have shot him there on site or something.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, he saved the world pretty much from going into a nuclear war, and I think that kind of thing has actually happened more than once. We're just blissfully unaware, much like we are.
Mutually assured destruction.
Yep.
Let's see. Beirut embassy got bombed. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sure do.
Big news. Yep. Sally Ride was the first American woman in the Challenger, which would come up later.
Yeah, coming up in '86.
And Guion S. Bluford was the first African American in space, both on the Challenger.
Jeez.
Shouldn't have tried to send a teacher up, I guess.
I reckon not. I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Vanessa Williams won Miss America, and I believe she was the first African American to win that. GPS becomes the internet. That was 83. That was when they switched over the codec. I can't remember what it's called. It's like AMP something, AS whatever. Switched over to TCP/IP.
Cool.
So the internet first got started. Clearwater had the first Hooters.
Nice.
MS Word was not available for Windows, but there was a DOS version released that year. Lotus 1-2-3 as well. We had our first minivan, the Dodge Caravan. Came out. Was it the year.
Dodge? I thought the Toyota had the first minivan.
It may have been, but
I remember that the commercial talked about having an ice bucket inside between the seats and stuff. I'm like, wow, it's got an ice maker.
The Caravan was obviously successful.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it gets the credit.
Yeah, I do remember, though, when the minivan became a thing.
Right. We had McNuggets for the first time that year.
Mm-hmm. Love me some McNuggets. Those were dark meat.
They've sold so many of those. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, at some point in the 90s, they switched over to all white meat.
Yeah. We had DARE, the drug program.
Yeah. Isn't it still around? Or did you start then? Yeah, it started that year.
Yeah, it just started.
Yep.
So this was like cops coming to classrooms talking about drugs, basically.
Everybody,
but also a lot of other stuff attached with it. The Cabbage Patch Dolls riot.
Oh, man, those Cabbage Patch Dolls. God. I like the Garbage Pail Kids the best, man. I wanted to do a big revival on that, and it turns out there was a big revival on it. Like, I found it on the internet, and I'm like, motherfucker, I want some Garbage Pail Kids. I love them things, man. There was always that rumor that, I guess it wasn't a rumor, that they got sued or something, but somebody's got the rights to them and doing it still.
Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember when it was, but
I think it's Fleer, actually. The baseball card company. Yeah, I think Fleer has the rights to Garbage Pail Kids.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I want some, man, really bad. Them things were everywhere, bro, because they were stickers. Like, they were baseball card type deals, but the stickers, like, you could take the little guys off and put them on shit. And we had them on everything, man. I mean, and the thing is, like, each character had a B character. Like, it was the same exact damn card, but they would just have a different name. And those were the commons. Those were the shitty ones. So everybody had a ton of them. Like, Atom Bomb was the very first one. Everybody knows his picture from the beginning. What was his alt name? You remember?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, I can't remember what it is, but it would be like, Bombing Billy or something like that. And then everybody would have a ton of that one, and Atom Bomb, and the Atom Bomb would be the one everybody wanted. So yeah, it was awesome, man. Then I think they went 2 or 3 years before they got sued or told to cease and desist by the Cabbage Patch Company or whatever. Kenner, maybe, whoever. Was it Hasbro? Maybe it Hasbro who did Cabbage Patch. He was. Anyway.
I can't recall.
I can't either.
Remember Gordon Gekko?
I remember the name.
Well, it's from Creed is Good. Yeah. Motorola brick phones.
Yes.
They were out.
The brick phone. The great brick phone.
We had some disasters. At the beginning of that year, Kilauea finally calmed down. It had started acting up the year before. Finally started to rest. We had a Category 7 in, I think it was San Francisco, somewhere in California. And a Category 9 earthquake in Idaho. And I want to say there was one in New York as well. Droughts throughout the Midwest. That was a big deal. We invaded Grenada. It was under the guise of rescuing medical students, but really it was about their communist government and trying to squash that.
Even back then, we were up some shady shit.
Yeah. IRA bombed Harrods. That was a major news story.
Yeah.
And Hurricane Alicia hit Texas.
Alicia!
There was a tornado in LA, which I was like,
that's weird.
Is that something that really happens, like in LA?
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe it was just because it wasn't as developed at the time.
I don't know. You never hear about like New York City tornadoes or ever in a big city. And I guess it's just because the cities maybe break the wind up. I don't know. I said breaking wind.
Let me just try and get through the rest of this. I'll just try and do it quick and maybe drop a note on one or two. Swatches came out that year.
Oh, I love my Swatch.
Yeah. Margaret Thatcher came into office.
Yeah.
That's the UK's version of Ronald Reagan. Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear. David Copperfield.
Yeah, that was.
Alice Walker won a Pulitzer for The Color Purple. First black woman to do that.
I swear Whoopi Goldberg's turning into The Color Purple.
The original Annie and Evita had I haven't. Original Annie and Evita had their last Broadway performances. Cats got a Tony that year.
Oh.
And this is not the Cats you saw on TV. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was declared that year. And the FDA approved cyclosporine, a big deal for transplants, shown by later that year. There was the first successful heart and lung transplant.
Nice.
Let's see. Yeah. We had people before their time. A little band called Menudo. I don't know if you remember them.
I do remember them very well.
They were
frequent very many shopping malls.
The precursors to the boy bands, right?
Yeah, they were the boy band startups. Next boy band would be New Kids on the Block.
Right. Last thing I have here. What is it? Actually goes in the games. So if you have anything you want to talk about games, we can lead into the first Mario Brothers.
Bum, bum, bum. Not Super Mario Brothers.
Nope.
Mario Brothers.
Mario Brothers.
Just the little guys. They look like tiny little Mario and Luigi, and they just run around in pipes, jumping on the
Koopas.
Koopas are in there. That's where the Koopas go back that far.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah.
That's
levels. All the major news. There were other gaming news.
I do have mentioned a whole list of movies from that year.
I do too.
Very good movies.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah. Let's God, I got a hell of a list here. Let me go some of the best ones that I love. Like Max Dugan Returns. If you have not seen that movie, you got to see this movie. Matthew Broderick, Jason Robards. Kids today don't have a clue who Jason Robards is, but he's great in this. This movie's just really good overall. It's also got Donald Sutherland in it. Meaning of Life came out that year. Excellent movie.
Yep.
It's one of the, I'd say, Monty Python's second best movie. Return of the Jedi, of course.
Obviously.
That was a huge year. That theater was so packed. I remember we walked in, it was packed, except for a couple seats up front. My mom refused to sit up front. It was me and the guy she was dating, his two daughters. And we had to do the walk of shame, where we walked in one side all the way down to the front. Mom refused to sit down in the front with us. Walked all the way by, and this is like the very beginning of the movie when Vader's coming off the shuttle, seeing Admiral Pyatt, and he's meeting him, and they're talking. And so the whole time we're walking, I'm like trying to watch as much as I can of this scene, because all you heard back then was, oh, Darth Vader's going to lose his head. They didn't say that he was going to take his helmet off. They said he was going to lose it. Darth Vader's head gets cut off. That's what we all thought when we were, at least in my little group. Yeah. That's what we all thought. So, I was trying to watch the whole time, but they had to give us rain checks. And we had to come back a whole week later to see the movie, man. It was brutal, dude. So yeah, that's my Return of the Jedi story. Flashdance came out that year.
Flashdance, yes.
That was, man, I remember as a kid hearing about that movie. They would talk about it like it was porno. That's how my mom talked about it. And now you see that movie and it's like, what?
I mean, at that age, it wasn't far off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have porno to speak of necessarily.
There was way better like racy movies that weren't even that good, like Porky's. You can go back and watch it, and it's not even bad. Yeah. It doesn't even have as much nudity as you think it does. At least how I remember it. Me and my wife
has no nudity, doesn't it?
Yeah,
well, no, like a front shot.
Maybe. We watched all three of them. And I was sorely disappointed, man. I was like, I don't remember it like this. Man, as kids, we talked about Porky's all the time. Oh, yeah, you got to see Porky's, man. You can see some titties in there.
I'm pretty sure there was side boob.
Definitely. There's shower scenes, but there's some nudity. It's just not as much as I remembered it being talked about. We were just, horny little kids that just thought anything that had a little boob in it was awesome to see.
Yeah.
Something Wicked This Way Comes. That movie used to give me the willies as a kid. Especially at the carousel scene at the end when he dies. Evil dude dies. That freaks me out. Cheech and Chong Still Smoking.
And Yellowbeard.
Yes, Yellowbeard came out that year too. I didn't put it on the list, but I did see it.
I just remembered there were 2 Cheech and Chong movies that year. There were also 2 James Bond movies.
That's year. Right. Yeah, I was going to list those. There was oh hell, there I will get to them in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Octopussy had Roger
Octopussy
Moore.
Was one, and
Never Say Never Again had Connery.
Had Connery because he said never. I'll never play it again.
Right.
The Man with Two Brains, great movie. Psycho 2, War Games, great movie with Matthew Broderick. Trading Places, great movie, Eddie Murphy, and Dan Aykroyd. Porky's 2, speaking of Porky's. Twilight Zone the movie. Now, my wife and I love this movie. We watch it just.
That was on my list.
It's like great movie.
Whenever I still remember clearly from that moment on, whenever somebody was freaking out, we'd all turn to each other and be like, "There's something on the wing."
Yeah, that's great. There's something on the wing. Yeah, you can't beat fucking old Shatner, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Where am I here? Staying Alive. It was the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, directed by Stallone, no less. I was surprised to see that. I didn't remember that. That was interesting. Jaws 3D. This is a big listen. 1983 was a big year for 3D. Y'all think you had it back in 10 years ago with the hell, it probably wasn't even that long in the theaters recently. Yeah, in 1983, 84, it was a big year for 3D. So Jaws 3 was in 3D. National Lampoon's Vacation. What a classic.
The Griswold, yep.
Yeah, absolute classic. Risky Business came out that year. Cujo. He had a few, Stephen King had a few movies come out this year. It was good for his finances, no doubt.
Yeah.
Easy Money with Rodney Dangerfield. Love that.
Well, you may be having a Mandela moment as well.
What?
Something Wicked This Way Comes was adapted by King, but it was originally Ray Bradbury.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. If I'm recalling, I could be having one, but I'm pretty sure it was Bradbury.
Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom.
Great movie with Michael Keaton. First time I ever seen him in anything. He was working at the Mr. Rogers not long before that, a couple of years before that.
And first time I ever saw or knew anybody that did anything from Critical Role, if you guys are into that. Taliesin Jaffe played the youngest child in that movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting. I love stuff like that, finding the kids in movies and stuff.
Yep. Kroll. How have we not mentioned Kroll at this point?
Yeah, well, it's in there. I just hadn't got there yet. But Kroll, yeah, definitely. I love
Kroll is definitely a cult classic because it performed so horribly when it was released.
It did. It really did. But it has a beauty to it that I love.
It does. Well, it's some of the last movie-making magic you see, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's got that British feel to it as well, the British movie style. Strange Brew, Bob and Doug.
Strange Brew, speaking of SCTV.
Yep.
Couple of hosers
there. Little hoser. All the Right Moves, The Dead Zone, which is another Stephen King movie. Right Stuff.
The Dead Zone was Walken, right?
Yeah, Christopher Walken. Yeah, that was his.
And later
first
it got
thing I
adapted
ever remember him in
to a TV show.
It did.
Great movie. Fire and Ice.
Yes, a cartoon. I have it somewhere on a disc. friend of mine gave to me. Amityville 3D.
Right.
The 3D movie. A Christmas Story. Everybody knows A Christmas Story.
Man.
Sleepaway
Christmases before that must have been wonderful. I can't really remember them that well, but you didn't have to have that playing all day, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't do it now, but I think it should be played at least once. It doesn't have to be played all day, but I feel like A Christmas Carol, A Christmas Story, and like the Rudolph cartoons, the little claymation stuff or whatever, that kind of stuff, they should just be available to watch somewhere every year at Christmas time. And
well, TBS always did this thing. You know, they play that all day at Christmas
24 hours of Christmas Story. I think they still, I'm not sure if they still do it or not.
I don't either, but I do know I had a number of family members that would just turn it to TBS and leave it there.
Yeah. Well, it's guaranteed you'll see the whole movie eventually.
Right.
Yeah. Sleepaway
Beastmaster.
Camp. Yeah, well, Beastmaster, man. Every kid loved the Beastmaster. So the second and third one came out, and they saw
awesome. Yeah.
The first one was great. Can't beat, man. Mark Singer, I mean, I was a huge Mark Singer mark, if you pardon the expression. I loved Mark Singer. I still love Mark Singer to this day. He was the perfect guy for talking about the guy, a man's man, kicking ass and taking names. Mark Singer was the man for us kids back in the day. There was another guy too, and I wish I could remember his name because one of his movies is on here, The American Ninja. I think it was Revenge of the Ninja.
Well, there was American Ninja. I
Yes,
don't know
there was
if that
American
was 83
Ninja.
Though.
But that guy who plays him, and I can't think of his name, he's also one of the men's men back in the day that was in a lot of stuff. It would be cool.
You mentioned the right stuff. We didn't mention that was concerning the Mercury missions.
Right. That was when they did the hypersonic, and I mean not hypersonic, supersonic test flights. Mm-hmm. I mentioned Sleepaway Camp, which was like a knockoff of Friday the 13th. Still, it's a cult classic to this day. Yentl, Terms of Endearment, Scarface, huge movie.
Scarface. I was waiting for it to show up on the list. I was like, how have we not gotten to Scarface?
Yeah, it's a big movie. Christine, another Stephen King movie.
One of my favorite movies from that era, man.
Yep, I enjoyed it a lot too. And one of my favorites on the list, DC Cab. I loved this damn movie as a kid, and I recently found it and watched it this past year. Mr. T, Bill Maher, a very young Bill Maher, and Adam Baldwin. Speaking of, you brought him up last week.
I did.
Very, very young Adam Baldwin. It's such a great movie. If you haven't seen DC Cab, go out and see it. To me, listen, DC Cab, Airplane, Top Secret, Naked Gun,
Real Genius,
any of that stuff. Yeah. These movies, they had the comedy. They were I don't know. Most of it was Zucker Brothers stuff. They just had a way of doing comedies. And it was just something about the 80s. I don't know. I don't see the closest thing you see to it nowadays is like the scary movie stuff, and of course they've done spin-offs of that too, where they're just making fun of movies. But like that's the Wayans brothers stuff, and they're like literally the only ones keeping that kind of comedy alive. And it doesn't even. It's not even the same because there's just something about the look of the film. The grittiness of it, I don't know. Everything's too polished nowadays.
Anna Faris is the only thing that makes that scary movie stuff for.
She's good.
She is. She's really talented, and it's a shame that that's what she's going to be known for. I think. Yeah.
Well, I think the waiting stuff really helped her.
Yeah,
for sure. And she had some stuff after that too. There was something where she was a love interest. Maybe for a Seth Rogen movie or something. Can't remember now. It was after Still Waiting, I think. I can't remember what it was.
Zach and Miri Make a Porn is the only thing I can think of, and that wasn't her.
I don't know if she's in. Yeah. No, I don't think that's it. But let's see. To Be or Not to Be was a Mel Brooks movie. Right. Tootsie, which I love Tootsie.
I was going to say Tootsie wasn't on there. Dustin Hoffman Getting a job as a lady.
Yeah, Dustin in drag. Very poignant for this day.
Right.
It's a great movie. Damn good movie. We mentioned Octopussy already. Superman 3.
I was just about to go there, man. Richard Pryor and Gene Hackman.
Yeah. Not particularly remembered as a great movie, but having Richard Pryor in there was funny. I mean, he was wedged in there. A lot of people weren't happy about that, you know, the whole story and whatever, but I remember as a kid being very funny. I loved Richard Pryor back then, so just having him in there, they scored. They did exactly what they set out to do, in my opinion, and it worked on me.
Well, he's also, at that point in time, he had a lot of straight man material from his stand-up, right?
Yeah.
And he drew a lot on that for that role.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Hold on one second.
I think that's it.
All right. So what was that last one you had?
Actually, there were a couple. While there was a movie called Rumblefish released that year, the one that people really remember was The Outsiders.
Yeah.
Rodney Dangerfield, of course, had Easy Money.
Yeah, I mentioned that one already.
Oh, did you? I didn't hear it, apparently. Eddie and the Cruisers. Mm-hmm. Kind of a unique one. Like a cold case drama almost, right?
Yeah.
And one that I actually didn't see until after 2010 sometime, but one of my friends turned me on to it, our friend with the DeSoto moment. Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Molly was in
John
that one.
Boy, right? No, I'm thinking of something. I think that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. The guy that played in it was like known for those types of movies eventually.
Yeah. Boy, you missed some big ones too. E.T.
Was that year? I thought it was to 82.
No, that is 82. What the hell is it on? Well, probably just ran into 83. It probably stayed in the theater so long. That was 82. I can't believe that's on the list. Could have been. That's my bad. They had Gandhi on the list too. Maybe that's not right either. Blue Thunder, re-release of Snow White came out that year. Sophie's Choice. Okay. The Dark Crystal, one of my all-time favorites. Wait a minute.
There's no way that was 83.
I'm getting irritated.
I had a similar issue. Don't feel bad. I went to a lot of sites where I was like specifically saying 83 and it said 83 in the headline and then it had stuff out of other years listed. So
yeah, well, I'm calling bullshit on some of those. Anyway, Friday 13th 3D came out that year. I do know that one's correct.
Yeah.
That was the third 3D movie. Apparently, it's funny, we talking about, so Pink Panther apparently had two movies, if it's correct, which it could be wrong. Curse of the Pink Panther and Trail of the Pink Panther were listed for 83, so they're probably actually 82 and 83, but
that was kind of at that point where I could see that happening.
And that's pretty much The Man from Snowy River.
Right.
Sword in the Stone. If that's true, too.
I believe it.
Yeah. Airplane 2. Yeah. Smokey and the Bandit 3.
Yeah.
I like Smokey and the Bandit 3. I like Airplane 2 as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're bad, but, you know, give me the original.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The originals are definitely the best. But, yeah, so that pretty much covers the movies and TV of 1983. It was one of my favorite years by far. That covers the favorite TV shows and movies that were big for us. What toys were you playing with?
Probably just G.I. Joes and Transformers.
Transformers didn't come out till the next year, but I was definitely playing with G.I. Joes. I'm pretty sure GoBots were already out, but maybe they didn't come out till Transformers did too.
It may have been GoBots because I actually played with both. So
yeah. Everybody talks about GoBots just being the Zayers. Well, yeah, like the Kmart of Transformers.
I don't know. This was at this point in time. I was living at the house that I dropped a comment on one of our older videos about where I used to play chase with black razors in the backyard, and there was a rattlesnake that I would mess with, and
yeah, I used to love
doing bad
black
stuff.
Racers. Yeah, I would do that all the time. There's a little creek down from our apartment, so we'd go down barefoot and chase snakes. And I did have that copperhead that I like stood right next to, and he's just sunning away, minding his own business.
Yeah.
And even a 5-6-year-old kid had enough sense not to just do nothing but walk away, not make a big fuss and shit.
I don't know. I guess it's a good thing that rattlesnakes are obviously like something about that rattle has to be like a natural frequency that all things just like
stops, and all you hear is yeah,
because that happened to me, because like I'd see it start to move and do whatever, but once I heard that rattle going,
yeah, I ain't messing with your ass. Yeah, for me it was GI Joes for sure, GoBots if they were out. Let's see, Star Wars figures, of course, because I still had all my Star Wars figures.
Couldn't get those.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah,
I had a shit ton of GI Joes though. Before it was all said and done, you know, when like 2 or 3, 4 years after they've been out, I had all kinds of shit.
Right.
Let's see. Do you have any specific memories that stand out from that year? Told me you didn't really remember 83 very well, huh?
Let's see. My bike had a banana seat. I had a Frogger t-shirt. Lived across from a cotton field. That's really about it. There are other little bits and pieces, but you know, they're all kind of disjointed.
Well, for me, it was a great year. And my mom got a divorce from my dad in 82, the end of 82. So 83 started kicking it off. It was just me and my mom. We moved into our first apartment. We hardly had any furniture in the house. I remember my room, we still had one of those giant moving boxes like that you put clothes in and hang them up. Like it would have the metal bar at the top where so you could just move the clothes hung up. Yeah. So I turned that box into a bed and a fort and shit, and I had my little black and white TV. No, it was a little colored TV. Didn't have a black and white one yet. And that was my little TV to watch, and she had a big TV that was in the living room. But yeah, I remember seeing V there the first time. Manimal. I just remember being so happy because I was thrilled to bits that my parents got divorced. My dad was not a bad man. He didn't abuse me or anything like that. A very weird individual. As y'all have already said before, I have a narcissistic personality disorder, ADHD. When my parents got a divorce, I had to make myself cry. I remember it like it was yesterday. This is one of the first memories I knew that we traced back to where they figured out I was a narcissist. This memory and the memory of the Challenger are the two memories that triggered this whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, because I made myself cry because I thought that that's what they wanted me to do. I mean, and they were yelling at each other, and it was getting on my nerves. So I thought to get them to shut up, the baby will cry, and it worked. Everybody shut the fuck up. Yeah, it did exactly what I intended it to do. Now, you wouldn't think, 82, I was 5 years old. You wouldn't think a 5-year-old would be that calculating, but I was, and I did, and I remember it well. And same thing. So for the Challenger accident, that was a complete lack of, that was a complete disconnect from empathy, which is, again, just like with my parents' divorce, that's when they started to realize. But yeah, I remember the Challenger blowing up, and I was in elementary school. We were in class, they brought a TV in, they showed us, I mean, like, they came over to the PA and said something about it. It was a very big deal. Like, most of us had a similar experience. Yeah, it was like the president being shot or something. I mean, it was like a very big national disaster. That's how different things were back then, because we didn't talk to each other on a national level like we can now. Right. That we were more, I don't know, we were just, when something big like that happened on a national level, it just meant more than it does now. I don't know, but even to me, the way I am, can notice that. But I just remember looking around and all the kids cried. There was many kids crying, boys and girls. But I remember looking around and seeing, why is everybody crying? I didn't get it. Yeah. I had such a disconnect to the. I mean, it was. I saw it exploded. It sucked. That's exactly how it felt. It sucked. Yeah, that's all I could apply to it. So I'd never understood it. And that's kind of how things they trace back. Luckily, I have such good memories of everything from back then. And I can I'm not endemic. I'm not like Mary Lou Renner, where I can just tell you exactly what happened on the day when it's amazing she could do that. I wish I could do that. Right. But Mary Lou Henner, what did I say, Renner? I think it's Henner. Mary Lou Henner from Johnny Dangerously and Taxi. You know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about, but I'm having a disconnect with the name.
Yeah, Mary Lou Henner, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she has memory. There's like 3 people in the world that can do that. Eidetic, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I just have a really good memory. I can't do it like that. I can't tell you exactly what was going on that I did exactly that day. I can tell you a lot of stuff I did that year. I can do it down to the year. About it. I wish I could have had that ability she has. That's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. We did mention Dragon's Lair earlier, and I've got a list of games. It's a shorter list.
Yeah, because one of the questions here is, were you playing any type of gaming, video or D&D, or I was aware of
none of the above.
Yeah.
There were no games. Basically, I went to school. I came home, hung out with the family, sat in front of the TV. My sister and I shared a bedroom. So, yeah, on the weekends, I'd ride my bike. No kids lived around us, but we couldn't afford gaming consoles or any of that. So,
yeah. Well, it wasn't until '83 that I could afford a gaming console because that was the big gaming crash that year.
Right.
So you could go and buy Atari games and Atari consoles for next to nothing. They were practically given away. And so my mom was happy to take advantage of that. It would shut me up and it was cheap. So yeah, she bought me a little cartridge, every little cartridge I wanted. So yeah, I got into the Atari. I never had a Nintendo Entertainment System when they came out a couple years later, and I was aware of D&D. I always hung out with older kids, and the older kids were playing the original Dungeons and Dragons. There were even some tabletop Dungeons and Dragons stuff back then. And they were playing that, and I remember being involved a little bit, but I was kind of the kid that, go away, kid, you bother me, that kind
right.
of thing. So they'd let you hang around to a certain point, and then it was time for you to go.
Right.
Yeah, that's about the extent of the gaming, but I enjoyed my Atari, definitely.
Well, there were some big games from that year. Track and Field came out that year.
Yeah.
I played a lot of that later, as well as Elevator Action. Played a lot of that later. Same with Spy Hunter.
Love the Spy Hunter.
The first Star Wars first-person shooter came out that year, which was kind of a proof of concept that it would work.
Yeah.
I don't know how it performed. Tapper. That was a popular game. Punch Out. One of my personal favorites, Crystal Castles. Yeah. It was one of those with the little orb. You ran all over the board trying to get these dots.
I remember that one.
You were a bear, I think, or something like that. I can't remember. Spelunker. Pole Position 2 was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
Ultima 3 Exodus. It was a RPG with, turn-based strategy elements.
Ultima. Around.
Yeah. Nobunaga's Ambition was another strategy game. Kind of laid the groundwork for stuff like Civ, I think. Bomberman was a big deal. Sega had a Laserdisc system, but I don't think it was here in the States. And Muse released an MS-DOS version of Castle Wolfenstein. Those are about the big gaming notes, yeah.
Really? Wow. Man, that's going back. I wouldn't think of Wolfenstein that far back. Amazing. Okay.
I also have a list of music that I may or may not have listened to. Or actually, I've heard all of it. But.
Music, as far as I didn't really get into the music part. Music wasn't so much in my life yet. I mean, I do remember being in the car, going around with my grandparents. They'd have the classical. I remember just top 40 most of the time. Elvira, one of my favorite songs. I don't remember what year that came out.
Well, let's go through the list of songs that you couldn't get away from that year and tell me if you heard them that year.
I know Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil came out. I love that.
Shout at the Devil.
Later.
That's in there.
Yeah.
The Clash had Rock the Casbah.
Right.
There was Sweet Dreams, Eurythmics.
Yep.
Couldn't get away from that one.
Yep.
The Safety Dance.
I don't know if I remember that.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Yeah. Another Australian band. I think that was an Australian band. Men at Work had Down Under.
Probably Australia. Down Under. Yeah. My name's Bruce.
Another song you couldn't get away from was Cruel Summer, Bananarama.
Yeah.
99 Luftballoons.
99 red.
Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Yeah. Good song.
Blue Monday.
Yeah, that was covered. That was really popular in the early 2000s when it was recovered by
Orgy.
Orgy, yeah.
Some of this, Little Red Corvette was that year. Rock of Ages. Could not get away from the song Total Eclipse of the Heart. Or Red Red Wine.
Damn, was that in 83? Shit. Red wine.
Or One Thing Leads to Another.
Goes through my head. Man, I want to go hear that song now. I fucking love that song.
Was that year.
Arma Chameleon.
What a Feeling and Maniac. Billy Joel had Uptown Girl.
Yeah. Uptown Girl.
Huey Lewis and the News released Sports on cassette. That was their mini album. They had like 4 songs on it, I think. 4 or 5.
EP.
Yeah. And some of the ones that they were just released that year, but they, kind of become a thing since. Islands in the Stream. We've Got Tonight. Tonight I Celebrate My Love. Legs. All Night Long. She Works Hard for the Money. Legs.
You said legs twice. You like legs, don't you?
Apparently.
He's a leg man, ladies.
I'm Still Standing.
And he's singing.
That was Elton John. Some of these are more along stuff I listen to. Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yeah.
Modern Love. That was when David Bowie went pop. Never kind of lived it down. Everybody over here wanted more of that, and he didn't want to do any more of that.
Oh.
Come On, Feel the Noise. Quiet Riot.
Come on, feel the noise. Yeah. Love it.
Kill 'Em All was that year.
Kill 'Em All came out.
The only Dio song I know, Holy Diver.
Holy Diver. Yeah, it's probably the only one I really know too.
Right. Post Black Sabbath, Ozzy had Bark at the Moon.
Bark at the Moon.
And a lot of this stuff was stuff I obviously wasn't listening to in 83, but found afterwards. Institutionalized. Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, God. Wow, 83? Man, some of these you're throwing out. I'm thinking Red Wine didn't come out here until a couple, like 86.
It may have been just UK at that point.
I was going to say, because, yeah, it may have been UK in 83, but I was thinking, yeah, it was like 86 in States, something like that.
Well, also, like in 83, I'm pretty sure nobody over here knew who Tears for Fears was, but they had released their debut album. So it's, UK thing.
Do you know that I want to say that Red Wine might even be as late as 89? No, maybe. It's probably 86. 86.
I would say it's even earlier than that.
I might have to do some that's going to kill me.
Well, I have to check it out.
Yep.
Domo Arigato,
Mr. Roboto.
Domo
Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Absolute favorites, real banger from that year, Herbie Hancock, Rocket.
Hancock.
Yeah.
Rocket. He's got his Hancock on his rocket. Yeah.
Let's see. There were a couple of big things that I skipped over purposefully. Beat It and Thriller.
Oh, man.
Big hits that year.
Thriller! Man, I loved that fucking album. Now, that I said there wasn't much music. I just really listened to whatever I heard on the radio and maybe what was like popular around. And Michael Jackson's Thriller album was all over the place.
But it was all bangers, right?
Oh God, dude, it was. Michael Jackson was huge, man.
Yeah,
big, huge.
We also had Bryan Adams that year released an album. "Melt With You" was a big song that was popular. REM's debut album came out, as well as The Violent Femmes, "Blister in the Sun."
I love that song, man. Now no, we didn't get into that till, let's see, 87. My friends and I started getting into that, man.
Draconicer.
I stain the sheet. Don't even know why. Gigi. My girlfriend, she's at the end. She is starting to cry. Gigi.
Frankie was 84, right? Frankie Goes to Hollywood. That's when they were popular, 84, 85.
Can't remember.
I was just thinking of that because I always kind of classify them with Draconicer, who I just mentioned. Rolling Stone signed the most lucrative contract up until that date, $28 million with Columbia, and they released their album Undercover that year.
Was that the one that had the cover song, "Dancing in the Streets"?
I don't think so.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
If I recall correctly, there were no bangers on that one.
All right, okay. Because I want to say that one came out a couple years later, "Dancing in the Streets." It wasn't long though. It might have been 85. That one came out.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's "Texas Flood" came out that year.
Nice.
It did not get popular until much later.
Yeah, Stevie got a bad rap early on.
Yeah. I got a couple of other big things to hit on. I'm just making sure I've gotten everything else off of this list. "Burning Down the House."
Burning down the house.
Love, Sweet Dreams, blah, blah, blah. "Show No Mercy" from Slayer came out that year.
Love me some Slayer.
"Every Breath You Take" from The Police was big that year. "Always Something There to Remind Me." I just remember I could not get away from that song. And now the little tidbits concerning music. Karen Carpenter died that year.
Wow. Yeah,
The Who
didn't
disbanded.
eat herself to death.
Do what?
I said she didn't eat herself to death.
Right. She
did the opposite of Mama Cass.
She non-ate herself to death.
Yeah. Mama Cass choked on a sandwich.
The Who disbanded. And
damn, that's crazy. It took them till 83 to disband, huh?
Right, yeah.
Wow.
Well, they were, obviously they were having trouble well before that.
Yeah, I didn't know they went that late, though. I mean, I thought they went out in the 60s, 70s.
Early in the year, Kiss started up for an interview, doing what for the first time?
No makeup.
And they toured that way all year.
Yeah, and for many years to come.
Right.
They didn't get back into makeup until they got the whole band together and started their retirement tour. Then they had what?
It was a big coming back thing.
Yeah, they got Peter Criss, they got Ace, and they couldn't even stand. I think they standed them for like one tour, and then they've done like 5 retirement tours since then.
Deuce. Yeah. All right. So one big thing I want to mention, a little bit of trivia here: "Sexual Healing" from Marvin Gaye.
Sexual
big on the list back in that year. Little known trivia bit here. That year, Marvin Gaye gifted his father the gun that he would later shoot him with.
Well, damn. That's some foreshadowing.
That was a freaking Christmas gift. That's crazy.
That sucks.
A bunch of bands I had no idea of till probably about the 90s. Bad Brains, Husker Du, Misfits, Black Flag. What
movie is that from? What movie is it from?
Oh, it's Life's a Garden Dig It.
Yep.
Joe Dirt.
Yep, you got it.
Circle Jerks, Minor Threat, Social Distortion, The Ramones,
all
Death Church, and Shonen Knife.
Well, I would know them by about 88.
Right.
When I'd first started hearing them. Bad Brains, Circle Jerks especially. The Butthole Surfers, man. Back, it was funny when I heard people talk about the Butthole Surfers in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm like, y'all have no idea. Y'all have seriously no idea what the Butthole Surfers are really like. When I first heard that shit. I heard a song back in the day, the Butthole Surfers. It was just, all I remember is crazy guitar and fast, like, and the guy would go, and puke everywhere. And he would, it was fucking great. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then you hear the Butthole Surfers of like the late 90s, and everybody, have you heard the Butthole Surfers? I'm like, yeah, I sure have. Way a long time ago. It's funny how bands evolve,
it was their Cinnamon and Sugar song that got them big, right?
I don't even remember, because I don't even know if I heard the stuff that the people were talking about. I might have. I'm sure it hit the radio, some of it. But yeah,
that's all I got.
That's all he's got. Well, that wraps it up for 1983. It was an excellent year for me. I know I love it. And I don't know what year we'll do next time. I'm just picking random years, especially out of the 80s. Those were good times.
Yeah.
Good reminiscent times. Maybe I'll throw a 90s one in there, because it's a little closer. Maybe I'll go to 97 when you and I first worked together.
Oh, wow.
Might do that. All right.
Well, short my brain out remembering stuff from then.
There you go. Yeah. That's when the drugs got really bad for me.
Right.
Anyway, so we're going to wrap this show up, and we're going to start working on the reviews here next. So y'all be looking out for those. We'll get them up probably about the same time this one comes out. So we thank you so much for your patronage. Please remember to click the subscribe button. We need all the help we can get. We want lots of subscribers so we can...
Throw us a like, leave us a comment.
There you go. Yeah, we haven't had any good comments lately either. But we are getting more...
Yeah, it's been a little better.
Yeah. The analytics are good. And I just wait and look at them every time I do a video, so I'm disappointed. And every week it's better, so that's all good. That means we're doing something all right, I guess.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Y'all have a great one, and we'll see you on the flip side.
All right.
All right.